Here's the reason why church marketing most likely failed your church. And I hear the same thing from pastors. Every week I do consultations with lead pastors at churches, and we look at their current strategy to reach new people through marketing methods. And there's one common thing. Every call has a common problem. They tried to do it cheap, okay? And it ended up costing them more. Trying to do something cheap does not mean you're being a good steward, okay? You're going to have to pay something. You're going to have to pay money, resources, or time, okay? And this is why we love being church, right? Because we can get free time from volunteers. Hopefully, we're not just using them for free labor. Hopefully, we're tying it to their spiritual growth. If not, that's a different podcast, really. But it's going to cost time. And where a lot of pastors get get caught up in the spider web, so to speak, is they look for the cheapest option. Well, we just need this. So, this one's $20 a month. So we'll do that one. Or we just need a Facebook ad. I can figure it out myself. Go in and set it up. But it ends up costing you more because it's never just $20 a month. It's $20 a month plus 20 hours of your month, right? That's an eighth of your month, if my math is right. That's gone. You don't have that time back. That is non-renewable. You can get another $20. Okay. You can't get that 20 hours back. Okay. You can't put that in an offering plate. And if you got volunteers that are willing to donate their time, I think that's great too. But what we also hear a lot from pastors and church leaders in our consultations is they're in trouble because the volunteers, free labor doesn't often come with best practices. So they didn't set up the website correctly. They didn't pass on the administration keys. You can't get a hold of them. God forbid something happened to them. And you've lost total access to something, right? And then we've got to use our specialists to try to get access back. So if you try to go cheap, it's actually going to cost you more. Not only is it going to cost you more time, it's going to give you more risk to your reputation. Because if you try to do something for free, let's say, for example, Google Ad Grant, and you don't know the proper way to set it up, and there's very little documentation out there on how to do it, you're going to end up doing it wrong. You're going to have a bad conversion, bad click-through, you're not even going to spend your money in the first place because you set up bad ads. And then they cancel your grant because you're not using it right? Why would they give you $10,000 a month for advertising if you're not going to use it right? And so you end up risking your reputation. If you do a bad ad, especially nowadays in 2023 towards the end, they're really cracking down on religious ads. We've had to really tiptoe around to get our Diction ministries out there and our churches out there and our house churches out there. A lot of flags are getting waved. And if you don't set those things up right, especially as a religious organization, you could break terms on personal religious targeting, and you can get your account banned and you can't get that back. Okay. So there's a lot of trouble that could happen if you try to do it yourself or try to do it on the cheap. Let's just get AI to do it. All right. I love AI. We use AI. I bounce ideas. I was talking to someone this morning. Our copywriter uses AI just to get a different perspective on things. No problem with that. But if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to end up killing your website because it sounds like it's an AI. It doesn't sound like your church. You misrepresent your church, and you're going to miss a lot of opportunities. And speaking of opportunities, you're going to miss a lot of ministry opportunities because especially if you're a pastor or any kind of director, staff, whatever, the more time you spend behind a computer screen, the less time you're spending in front of people. Okay. And I'm not talking about Zoom calls. I'm talking about, I can't get the background on this website right, or I can't get this photo to load right, or why isn't this gradient working, or I just don't know what this Canva thing is, and it just looks like everyone else's designs. When you're the children's pastor, you're supposed to be ministering to parents and kids. Instead, you're spending all your time on Canva. Canva is a great tool. Love Canva. We use Canva too. But it is going to take your time because, you're not investing in it. So what can we do about this? How do we fix this? We don't want to be cheap, but we also don't want to break the bank, right? So how do we be good stewards without automatically choosing the cheapest option? Which, by the way, choosing the cheapest option is not good stewardship automatically, okay? Because, again, you've got to steward not only your church finances, but also your church time. And so if you go with a cheap option, but it costs the pastor 20 hours a month, that's terrible stewardship of the pastor's time. So recognize, number one, that you need to invest. You need to invest something. Okay. There is no such thing as a free lunch. Okay. Your website has to be hosted somewhere. Your website has to be secured somewhere. If you get it for free, you're either going to have ads show up or you have zero control and that site could come down, or it's not branded. So people can't even tell it's you. And you get some weird website link, like go to firstbaptist.mygreatwebsites.com. Like that's not something you should promote. You got to invest something. All right. If you're doing social media, invest in sundaysocial.tv. I love it. Go to meetsundaysocial.com. Love that platform. But you got to invest something. You can't just spend all your time spinning your wheels. In fact, even if you're a church communicator or you have a communications or marketing director, they are still working two jobs. They've got to market the church to the community and they've got to keep the flock, the internal congregation, on the same page. All right. It would be better, instead of investing in an intern, invest in like an agency like ours, because we'll be able to do the work of 10 full-time employees. Okay. And it costs the same as an intern. You'll get more time. You mitigate risk because you're working with professionals, and you're not going to miss any opportunities because you're going to be full on doing ministry and just overseeing someone else, or something else is just getting done. You don't have to worry about graphics because you're just getting them from a company. Even if it's Sunday Social, you can just go in, what do I post today? Boom, done. I need a sermon graphic. Boom, done. Right? Love Sunday Social. Another ridiculous, this isn't even marketing, but I have a lot of churches that are like, we just use Gmail accounts. You can't administrate Gmail accounts. I know it's free, but if there's ever accusations, if there's any other legal battles, you have no way to administrate and get access to a Gmail account unless the person who owns it allows you to, right? You're a church, but you're also a business. You need to have business class administration. So if someone leaves, you can reset their password or get old emails. You can't do that on Gmail. So you got to invest in something, right? You're investing in a church, you're investing in facilities, you're investing in salary, you're investing in like your worship service and environment. You need to invest in your marketing. A lot of people like to ask, what's a good number? I'm gonna share a simple formula. It's not definitive. If I believe something is the way to do it, I will put the word definitive in front of it, like definitive church marketing method or the definitive perfect invite. But a good exercise, it's not quite, I'll give you two actually. One of them is from my friend Adam McLaughlin. I'll give you his first. I believe his was, how many heads do you have times 10? Okay, so if you've got 300 people, your marketing budget should be $30,000. Okay, and if you're a Bible Belt church, if you're around 300 people, I believe your budget's going to be close to $1 million, if not $1 million. So 30,000 out of $1 million is not a big deal. Another number you could look at, I kind of take it from the opposite side, is look at your annual budget and divide it by the number of congregants you have, and then divide that by 12. That's how much you're paying each month just to keep one person. All right. So if your budget is let's just do math here. Let's do some math here. And let's be conservative. Let's say you got a church of 300, your budget is 750,000. Divided by 300 congregants, divided by 12 months, you're spending $208 a month just to keep one person. All right. And by the way, imagine telling your congregation, look, all you got to do is give it $200 a month and we won't have any finance issues. Like, we're going to meet our budget. That's a whole different podcast. That's not my thing, though. I don't know finances. That might be a bad idea. Don't take my financial advice. But you're paying $200. So I'm just making up numbers here, but just going by what I've seen in the past. You're paying $208 just to keep one person. All right. How much more do you need to spend to bring a new person on? Nelson Searcy, author of Fusion, my favorite hospitality, first impressions, assimilation, guest ministry, whatever you want to call it, book, Fusion by Nelson Searcy, says a growing church will spend between $400 and $500 just to bring one new person in. Okay. And that's $400 to $500 on evangelism. Okay. That's not $400 to $500 on a billboard. I mean, that's on strategic evangelism outreach. Okay. Which can and should include marketing. That's basically what I do. I prefer discipleship because I think evangelism is great, but discipleship is better in the context of church. So if you're paying $200 just to keep one person, you're probably going to have to spend $400 just to get one person. All right. Now we have streamlined our process. We call it the definitive church marketing method. And with this, we're able to get that number even further down, because what we do is we use marketing to scale that out. So instead of $400 to bring in one person, we do, well, let's say instead of $400 evangelism outreach per person that comes in, we can get it down to about 100, because the marketing scales. We're able to scale it out to multiple people, bring in or initiate multiple relationships ahead of time, do some automation to help nurture those relationships into a next step. So you can get that number down. But the average growing church, which means some churches are paying more. So you really have to sit down and analyze, where are we putting our money where our mouth is? Are we investing more in ourselves, or are we actually investing to reach people? But the short of it is, look, when you realize that good stewardship is not always finding the cheapest option, but finding the most valuable one, you will see your outreach methods work extremely better, because you're not choosing the cheapest one. You're choosing the one that's going to work better for your church. All right. If I have my wife has to go to work, right? I work from home. But if my wife goes to work, she's in a 10-year-old car, right? I could spend $2,500 and $2,500 and $3,000 and more money. Eventually it gets to the point where it would be a better investment for us to get her a new car rather than to put $10,000 a year in this stupid old car, right? Which, by the way, a 10-year-old car should not cost that much, but here we are. So don't just automatically choose the cheapest option. It will take you more time.